The beautiful thing about the first 10 minutes of these podcasts is like we'd always have this like grandstand idea or like we'd have a concept of vanilla eating at us. And one of the things I always wanted to do with it was not always have to have something. Like I wanted to be like transparent and real. If we had something, like I wanted to mean something. And so like we were going through it today, and it was like no one really had anything. But I'm like, you know what? This is like one of the weeks. Like we're about halfway through the NFL season. This is one of the weeks where like just get everyone's opinions, just get everyone's like reset button. And maybe not even like a full on reset, just like like we made it this far. It doesn't really mean too much, but it means just enough. And so I think like when we review these lineups or this process, this week, I think it's really important to like look back at what really mattered. What can we fade? What can we learn? With injuries, with bye weeks, with stuff like that. Like what's important. And one of the we saw one of my friends who have been playing DFS for a while end up winning a contest, and then we have gotten really close. We just have like one bad, like our best lineup last week, for example, was the Justin Fields lineup. Like everyone else in the lineup was totally flaming, and Justin Fields just got injured. So I'm like, that's just bad luck, but it's part of the process. It's part of the game, right? So I'm like, okay, what's the one thing we could do tonight that would actually matter? And so I started thinking about it. Like we saw some of the larger community do well. I'm like, what I really want to know from the guys is when we win, because I do think we'll win. Like when we win, what's the one thing you'll give yourself credit for? So like you can answer that now, you can answer that at the end of the show, you can give it some thought. But I kind of want like, hey, when we do well, I will feel this. When we do well, I will appreciate this. Because we're not there yet, and I feel like that's a great time to like reflect on when this happens. Then I can feel that. So that's kind of the precursor I want to set this episode with. Without further ado, I'll introduce Donnie, Evan, Gov, the normal gang. How are we doing?
Good. How are you?
Pretty good.
Solid.
All right. Does that make sense, Gov? I know probably a preamble a little bit, but like I really do want to just like focus on what could have went right without victory lapping, because we talked about it before the show. You don't want to come off like egotistical and victory lapping.
Right.
But I felt like we did a lot of things right.
Like if the most important thing to me is the process. Did my process put me on the right place? Because like we build multiple lineups. So like I know when we're building our lineup Saturday night, I'm thinking about that and not trying to just like, yes, that's really where I had the problem last week. I didn't really have a core of players.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to get some exposure, and that may be a problem. Maybe I should have had more of a core. And realizing by Sunday morning, after I had built my lineups, I did end up having like a 3-man core of like the Dolphins defense, Adam Thielen, and Chris Godwin. So like those were very helpful pieces. And as we see in the lineup, like you have our friend Jay's lineup, who had an amazing Sunday this week.
Amazing.
As you can see with his single entry. Almost shipped a bunch of big stuff. Did end up shipping plenty of things. So like congrats to him. And we were sweating these. Like we were sweating other tournaments that would have been shipped had Godwin caught a touchdown. And like he was doing that afterwards. Like, what if Godwin would have caught the touchdown? And then the other thing you shouldn't do, which is, and it's partially not him, other people have to do this for you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, if you were in my contest, you would have shipped it for this or shipped it for that. And like now when people say, well, if you would have just entered the SPY, you would have won 50K. Like, you don't need to be told that.
Gov, I loved it though. The guy said, like, I don't even remember what position it was. It doesn't really matter. But I remember he told Jay Sean, he said, if you were in the millie, I think he said you would have finished in like the top 25. And Jay's
like in the super large field stuff, he would have finished top 25, top 10 in most of the single entry, even the large field single entries, and especially any of the high dollar ones.
Right.
He would have shipped it outright.
Well, here's my thing with that though.
You have to look at all the times that he would have had to enter into that to
Right.
win.
That's where you have to keep your process in mind. Like, this isn't a fluke that he built a lineup like this, but he also has a specific bankroll management he does. He never gets out of his means. Even after the win, the next thing he was thinking about was, okay, how much do I take out the tax hit? Am I going to leave extra in to play more? Or am I just going to keep and really he doesn't have to. Like, ideally what this is he gets to pocket a bunch of money and do something fun with it after he pays his taxes. And his entire DFS play for the rest of the year and all football season is 100%,
maybe basketball season,
and whatever else he wants to play, it is 100% paid for. Like, he has fully bankrolled himself through it, and he gets to take a chunk of change for himself. Now, sometimes, like, if you're really trying to grow, maybe you say that's all bankroll. And if that's what you do, then maybe you up. Like, we even talked about, like, I even threw out, like, you realistically could still have your chunk of change and then take one of those $27 single entries that you play every week and just play the $50 single entry now for a slightly higher upkeep. You that's not too much, and you could afford that. That's where it's like, you could increase your bankroll a little and still have all the fun. But then again, he might just play the same $12, $5, $27 single entries that he always did.
Well, the cool thing about that, Gov, is like you can increase your bankroll to make your winning percentage go up just by playing like the higher upside tournament for like winning percentage. Or he could take a few more shots, but that, like, we're not putting out his business, but like that's where I'm.
But he's not like we were all joking. The joke is, so now you're going to go max the Millie for $3K a week, right?
And he would never do that.
No, he wouldn't. He wouldn't even like jump up to start playing the $100 single entry instead of like the $27 on that. It's
because like you mentioned, it's about process, and like he's one of the guys that's going to stick to his process. I think a great time to bring in Evan, though, because Evan knows nothing about him. Recently started DFS. He's going to potentially grant us an interview. Just the idea that he'd be willing to talk about his process in a Q&A kind of format in the coming days. Potentially, if we can work out a schedule with either Gov or I, who he knows quite well, he was willing to sit down with us for a while and give us kind of his process behind it, and just like share some of the feelings he has. Evan, I'd be curious to know, what would you want to know as like a guy who isn't fully, like, you're not totally bought into DFS. Like, let's be honest. I mean, we had this conversation. You think sometimes that we focus so much on process, and like you wish, we'd almost focus on different things at different times. And then so like, what could I ask him, or what information do you think you could get from him that like only you could kind of ask him as a newbie, a guy who's not like solely saying like, oh, well, I know how you double stack, or I know how this works. Like, you're brand new to DFS in a way. So like, I just think all your nuances are kind of unique. Is there anything you want to know?
I wouldn't say I have anything that's like a general question that I'd want to know from Jay, but if we're going to focus on this specific lineup that we're looking at right now, I would want to know what made you pick guys like a Curtis Samuel, a Chris Godwin, and what made you take a chance on a Kyle Pitts. Three players who have not been the most trustworthy lately, who easily could have not hit, but do you see that Samuel happened to fall into the end zone, Kyle Pitts fell into the end zone, and Godwin still got 6 catches against a relatively tough Detroit secondary. So I would want to know like those smaller pieces that he took chances on that helped him rise to the top and win this week. That's what I want to know.
And honestly, because like he is one of the people we talk to in our Discord every week, is part of our Saturday night chats before we come and do our show. I know most of his thoughts on that. Like, first off, Godwin had the highest amount of red zone targets for any Tampa Bay receiver and had 0 touchdowns on the year.
Correct.
So he had touchdown regression, which made him.
Can I get a word?
Let me break down the lineup as best as I know he can, but then you can go. So like, or if I'll just do the Godwin part, because like, so that's why he liked Godwin the best of Tampa. And as you see, he's running a Jared Goff stack, so his bring back is Chris Godwin. All right.
Yeah.
Anything?
Yeah. The only one that I'm confused about throughout this whole lineup is how did anybody get to Curtis Samuel this week? I don't understand it.
No, I can let you know that too.
He was
Like,
cheap with volume.
He had good volume, like for the amount of targets he gets, and especially red zone targets and such. He should not have been a 4K player.
He was basically 3K. He was a high 3K.
37.
3,700. Like he should have been probably like 48.
Yeah.
Same as like Drake London for the amount of volume at passing and red zone targets he was getting. And Washington was actually throwing a lot. So like that's probably a mispricing that we'll need to maybe keep track of later in the year. I wouldn't be surprised if after the next big game, Dotson or McLaurin's price go up pretty big if they end up having one. And so he looked like a really good value wide receiver. And if you're going to play that, why not correlate him? And you're either going to correlate him with Drake. I would have probably tried to do it with Bijan, but you just couldn't pay up for Bijan. So the other two choices that were being thrown around this week were Drake London, who was indeed getting 9 to 10 targets a week. So like not horrible, but it's Atlanta. Do I really trust their passing attack? And then really him
he had a good week this week.
He could have played Jonnu Smith. He could have played Jonnu Smith at basically the same price, at basically the same ownership, and gotten 13 points instead of 14. So, like, that was basically a coin flip because people didn't know. But, like, in the industry this year, people were talking that Atlanta-Washington game as something sneaky to look at, that there will be points scored in that game. And there were. And looking at the usage, like, I could see how a cheap Curtis Samuel was definitely in play. And if you're playing just whatever fits at tight end, like it correlates. Then you also have your Goff stack that he played with Godwin on the other side. That correlates. He played he played the chalkiest guy on the slate that everyone was playing. You just played Mostert. You not be stupid about it.
Well,
the one thing that really bothered me this week, like when I was reviewing, he actually has the play that really bothered me this week. And I think he was really surprised too. Because when we were talking, we had Thielen 10, 12% as our projection across the industry. For him to come in at 25, I don't think Jay was expecting that to be the second chalkiest guy in his lineup. I definitely wasn't it. But like, other than that ownership being off from what we thought, he built a very contrarian lineup, but all of them are good plays. Kyron is a good play. He gets all the work. He just gets hurt, but he got there before he got hurt. Mostert, best play on the slate. Everyone knew it. Everyone played him, basically. He took his shot on his Goff stack. I played Baker. This was the third time this year that I ended up playing the wrong side of the game. I had the right game that did do well. I played the wrong side of it. Had I just played the Detroit, because I had a Baker stack with Evans and then Amon-Ra on the bring back.
Okay, so basically, Gov just shit all over my question for Jay. Now I have no other question for Jay.
No, but
I was about to say, like, he could explain it better, maybe why specifically he got onto that play. But like, I know I played London and I had Pitts and Jonnu in my player pool.
See, I got literally all these plays, but 2 were in my player pool.
Yeah. Which means
I had everyone but Samuel and Pitts, and I played London instead of Pitts this week.
That means
Right. I also played more London than Pitts, but I like when I played the Washington guy in the one lineup, I also had a Samuel London lineup.
I didn't get the Washington in a bring back. I did not get any Washington.
So and that can be a process mistake that you can look at forward. It's like, you know that.
So, but I get how he got to this portion of his lineup,
right?
Outside of Samuel.
Exactly.
Not that I think it's a bad play.
Even Thielen was supposed to be the low-owned guy on the other side of Mostert's chalk that you correlate in the same game. Like he has a very correlated lineup: single stack, mini stack with the highest chalk, another super low owned mini stack, and then
Yeah.
Kyren and whatever defense fits.
I will.
And I just think there's one thing about that Texans defense play he got super lucky on. Because
fair,
Logan and I
To be fair, like 10 points isn't that bad. And if you didn't play the Vikings, who had 24, I think the average for yesterday was 6 points.
It was the Lions.
So, like, again, whichever defense fits, and he just happened to get 10 from it.
Yeah. Do you know how they got there though? With that fumble recovery? Because I played. I mean that fumble recovery, it was forced by Nico Collins after Stroud's first interception. Like the ridiculousness that needed to happen for that fumble to happen.
Yeah.
See,
So that's why
I had both those defenses this weekend, so I was kind of freaking out to Logan and DMs.
So that's why you say that it was lucky on the Texans' part, because on the last show, I recommended the Texans' defense for one of our lineups, thinking that this would be good against the bad Saints offense.
Yeah, but the fumble, like,
Yeah.
I know fumbles are always lucky, but that was extremely lucky. Because I don't think the Texans they don't really punch the ball up much this year.
Not that I know of either. Yeah.
Yeah, the Tillman punch basically came from an offensive player. The way it came was definitely unique. I will say, to wrap up on Jay's lineup here, I know he was also high on Robert Woods too, because we chat a lot in the coming weeks. So I know one of Jay's things is to target wide receivers that have an expected volume to target ratio. And he doesn't really factor in age module a lot. Like we'll argue back and forth sometimes, because if I take a chance on an older guy, it's like a Julio Jones. It's like the guy that used to be explosive.
Who just got signed, by the way.
Did he?
Yeah.
He got
with
these
the Eagles.
Eagle.
Yeah. Interesting. So like that's the kind of old guy I like to take. It's like that like touchdown upside, the big play, the Deshaun Jackson, one play. Jay's kind of like he'll take the veteran tight end type, veteran where he'll like, hey, if that guy's gonna get peppered with targets, I'm gonna take him. And Eric offense where it's very similar to what he did with the Chiefs. You don't really know who's gonna catch the ball over the middle, but one of those guys will. You just play the cheaper guy, and you just that's where we talked about it before the show. I mean, that's where the luck does play a factor. Like we're not saying that DFS isn't lucky. But there is positioning yourself with the right plays, and then putting enough luck in there.
Not that anybody knows what we're talking about with what we talked about before the show, but yeah, I did mention that I think we're always gonna disagree on how much luck specifically goes into playing DFS or just regular vanilla redraft fantasy football, right?
Right. It doesn't really matter. I mean, like if I said 40% luck and you said it's 50% luck, does that 10% really make a difference? Maybe.
It depends on what we're talking about, but in
Right.
general, probably not.
That's what I mean. Like but you could also look at a lineup like this and say, like, it's kind of like lineup selection. It's like, well, what contest do you have this in? Because that's going to play a factor as well.
And kind of going off of Donnie's point earlier with the Texans defense, who would have predicted the Nico Collins fumble force, right?
Right.
You weren't playing the Texans defense. I don't even think you were playing them for turnovers, really. You were playing them for a low-scoring game and, sacks, essentially. I don't think many people thought there was going to be turnovers.
To me, it's like when you hang out with your friends, or you decide to date somebody, or you like spend your time with somebody you value, right? If you might not know what's going to happen. Like if you go out to dinner, you might not know what that person will order on the menu. Might not know exactly how the day's going to go, but if you enjoy their company, it's going to be a good time. And so, like, even if you do get some lucky outcomes with a good process play, it's like as long as enough of it makes sense, then you kind of welcome that like happy-go-lucky variance. I mean, you can go totally wrong with it. I could play a 3K guy that will never touch the field and be like, guys, he's going to be contrarian. He'll be less than 5% owned. Like, yeah, there's a reason, So there's a difference between a low-owned guy and a guy that will never play, and you got to be able to discern that difference.
Yeah, and that's a good thing to bring up too, Logan, because as people listen to this, it's kind of going off of what you say. We're not just recommending just these random $3,700 or lower players to be like, oh, this is his week, he's going to hit, and then he doesn't, and it's like, well, our process is right. Yeah, trust us. We know what we're talking about. There's got to be some solid foundation behind actually sticking him in your lineup, right?
Exactly. Like
Good
if you put it like I was about to say, Logan, if you transition to our lineups, you can see we took a shot on a $3,600 player who basically had the same output as Curtis Samuel.
Yeah, you're
Good
right.
God, JMO's a great 2 catches got you there. At less than 1% owned. That's like oof.
That touchdown too was totally him. He totally came back to the ball. He adjusted the ball in the air. Like, that was total wide receiver skills.
Oh, yeah. Sucks that Foreman didn't hit off of a really bad Minnesota defense. They just had our number.
True.
They just had our number on Sunday.
But it looks like he did get the volume for it. So, like,
Yep, he did.
But he almost got a touchdown.
The other play.
The rookie stole a goal line touchdown that would have been his, most likely.
Yeah. Well, Darrington Evans is not a rookie, but he's young enough to almost be
not Evans, the Division II quarterback snuck the ball. Like, they were
okay, yeah, Tyson Bagent. Yeah, no, that I like that effort on his part for sure.
Oh yeah. I like his real life play, but that's a play that was on the 1 yard line, could easily went to the running back, and then we're looking at that play is totally different. And that's what you can't do hindsight. Like, I'll even be honest, I would not have played any Adam Thielen this week without you guys. You guys got me on the one Adam Thielen play, and it's partly biased because I've seen him fail a lot of times. And as his price goes up, I'm like, I can't do it.
What made you believe he was going to fail against the Dolphins?
I'll be honest, it's my age bias. I don't like guys. I don't really get down the field very well. Like, I like that Jamison Williams. That, like, you could get it from me all one play. That's how I kind of attack with my wide receivers.
The shiny young sophomore in the NFL
Or
who's
just
got
like,
legs.
Or just like not even the fast guy per se, but like a St. Brown, a guy that's going to be over the middle. Like, you can get him in stride, like an Odell Beckham, and he could take it to the house. Like, I don't think Adam Thielen's ever going to take it to the house. I think he's a good player, but I view him more as like a tight end, and so he needs tight end volume. Right now he's getting it, so maybe I need to adjust. Like, he is getting wide receiver 1 volume.
He's a PPR monster, and there's really no one else who's going to catch Bryce Young's passes, right?
Not unless Mingo steps up by the end of the year. That's about all there is. Or Shark. Like, Shark is the other guy they brought in to, like, be the extra talent for Bryce Young to go with Mingo. So, like, if Shark can step up like Thielen is, but that's yet to be seen.
Speaking of Jay, though, I did ask Jay, I said, you just won a good amount of money with Thielen, right? And me and him had that argument before the slate, whether Thielen was a good player or not. I told him I'd rather take a chance on Mingo. He said he would play Adam Thielen up to 7K this week. This is before the pricing came out. He said
I don't think that's crazy. He's earned it.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
The fact that he went at 5,900 this week is like, that's an insane discount.
Yeah. I mean, it is, because right now he's the top 10 guy.
Yeah. So we'll see what he
There's
comes
a
in after
point.
the bye.
There is going to be a
He
point
is going
where
to
he
go
fails
up.
drastically.
Yeah. I know it's going to go up a good amount because he was extra owned than normal, and he ended up having a big game. So, like, that's what the DraftKings algorithm looks for. It's like, did a lot of people play him? Because, like, even if a lot of people played him and they have a bad game, their price might not move. But that also goes for, like, if a guy is like a 1% guy and all of a sudden he has a 25, 30-point game, and at like 3,200, he's not just all of a sudden going to be 4K. he's going to go to like 38 or 39 because no one played him and he had one big game. So like that's how the algorithm on DK sort of works. So like I expect Thielen to be 7K when we come back. Honestly. But they have the bye this week, so we don't have to worry about that right now.
I think he will be just below 7K. I think they'll tempt you with the, hey, he's not 7K. Like, I think they'll play that game where it's like, if we don't make him 7K, then we don't got to admit that he's a 7K player, and then you'll still feel like you're going to, value. It's like the grocery store. They're going to price things at $9.99, not $10, $9.99.
Exactly. Is there evidence to show that platforms like DraftKings do that for that specific reason?
I can't say one for one, like for sure they do it, but I know there's been some close correlations that I feel like they've done that on purpose.
Like it's a part of their industry trade secret that they're never going to admit, right?
I would tend to believe that. Like in the early 2000s, for example, Christian McCaffrey was just getting started, and then David Johnson was like tearing it up. So like it was and there wasn't very many like PPR, monster wide receiver running back, combos back then. And so those guys were like must haves. And there was a point where they got to like 10K and people kept playing because they were just such the outlier. But it was almost like DraftKings would make them like 9,900 or 9,800, But the moment they made them 10,000, people didn't want to play. Is that correct, Gov? I don't want to speak out of school.
It's sort of correct. Like the two kind of different eras when you're saying McCaffrey and David Johnson, but yes.
Right. I was trying to think of two examples
But sort of, yes. Like they have been pricing up those guys because they keep getting played, because they keep hitting.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like if you just keep having back-to-back 30, 35, 40, 45-point games like McCaffrey was having a few years ago in Carolina, and everyone's playing him at a 20% plus clip in tournaments, well, it's just like he's just going to keep getting more expensive until you stop playing him.
And
like that's the whole point of their algorithm. They want to make it hard for you to play people so that it's harder to play the game.
Well, and to transition that a bit, I mean, like we used to see running backs that would be 3K. They were the same price at minimum that wide receivers were. And then what kept happening is what happened this week, what's happening already this season, where you get the star running back like a Williams that's out for the Rams, and then like that minimum 3K guy becomes such a smash. So now they raised the floor, so the minimum is 4K. So even like a guy like Evans, who looks like he's going to be the runaway workhorse potentially, he's at least 4K. So at least you got the wide receiver flex.
I think they signed Myles Gaskin as well.
Myles Gaskin did not go to the Rams.
He went somewhere.
He went. Oh, where?
He got signed today.
I was about to say there were a few transactions that I wasn't fully on it.
I know.
So I wanted to ask. So this was looking at this lineup.
Mm-hmm.
This one was wasn't this like Donnie's core?
Yes,
right?
This was my core.
Yeah. Sorry, Donnie. Your core was the
Stafford, Cup, Puka.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It was the worst performing lineup of the bunch. But I don't think it was because of Stafford Cup, like kind of Puka. But like Stafford Cup was fine.
But Puka almost caught a touchdown. He dropped one in the end zone. Like
yes.
he landed awkwardly. Like that's what I'm talking about. Like half an inch here, half an inch there. The slate looks way different.
Our bring back did nothing in Ertz.
Mm-hmm.
But like Godwin was okay. J-Mo hit fine. As I said, the defense has basically got you 6 points or whatever. So we didn't get a great defense, but we also played, I think, the cheapest defense on the slate. So
yep.
It's not a horrible play to make sure we fit in. Like Mixon is the low-owned play that didn't hit.
Yeah, Mixon was terrible. But I mean, like to your point about the defense, when you play a defense that cheap, you just need the random variance happen. the Panthers ended up scoring a touchdown late in that game, a defensive touchdown. Otherwise, they had negative points, I believe, up until the fourth quarter. But that's fine when they're that cheap. Like all you need is for them to have positive. But the mix and play was our biggest miss.
Yeah, in this lineup. Now the next one up. You guys want to guess? Before I go up, like, do you guys want to guess which one of our lineups was our best lineup that cashed?
I have no idea.
I think the field one was our second one, if I remember.
We'll
right.
slow roll it. So the next one up, our third, basically the number 3, is our Fields lineup.
Kendrick Bourne.
You would have thought this one was better because like Brees was very solid. Chuba ended up being, because he got the touchdown, ended up being better than Foreman. But like he doesn't get the touchdown, he's not that much better than Foreman, a point or two.
And then Foreman almost got a touchdown.
Exactly. Like they were basically the same play.
Yeah.
And Hubbard luckily got the touchdown. Myers, he's looking pretty good and not getting ownership. So like he's going to stay cheap and keep getting 5+ target, probably catch 5+ balls a game or more. Kendrick Bourne. I can't believe Kendrick Bourne hit. Oh my God.
Donnie was right about that.
No, that was not me. That wasn't me.
That
I don't
was
know
all
who that
colorful.
was. It was me, wasn't it? I still can't believe that hit. Oh,
I thought it was, I thought for sure it was Donnie.
No, here's the thing.
I still
If the
can't believe that
Patriots
hit.
offense, I'll tell you the key. If you think the Patriots offense will have a somewhat decent day, 20+ points, Kendrick Bourne's a play.
Kendrick Bourne or Hunter Henry were the only ways to go at that point.
Yes.
Maybe
Yes.
Ramondre, if you really think they're going to be able to move the offense. But like that's
No, the offensive line's too bad.
I mean, Ramondre did have 18 points, 19 points. Like he actually had a pretty good day.
Yeah, he had.
Well, his price has gone so far down. I'm thinking of start of the year when everyone was still on the guy.
Yeah, when he was like a 6K plus almost 7K running back. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
But if he's going to play where like Brees is, like that's the other thing. Brees is like having solid games, but not being owned. So like he's going to stay right around 6K, and that's going to be nice.
Why do we think Brees is this low owned with the price that he's at? Is it because of the team name on his helmet, or is it because he got injured and they brought in Delvin Cook to take the load off?
This one might specifically because of the team he was against.
So
they didn't want to play him against the Eagles. Because last week, when he was like 5,300 and smashed, he was like 18% owned.
Yeah.
And that's why he
Brees Hall is liked by DFS players. I remember that from last year.
Yeah, but the field stack, DJ Moore not hitting, and the bring back, like that whole game stack did not hit. Everything else was pretty fine in this line. Well, Higgins.
For me, Evan, though, it really does, like we talked about already, it's a sticker price. Like people overreact to sticker prices. So like, yeah, Brees Hall at 5K, I'll play him. Oh, almost 7K, no, totally off him. Like people do have that overreaction theater.
Well, plus there was 2 very cheap running backs to play this week. That also plays a factor. Chuba and Ford definitely played a factor into that ownership.
I guess where I'm going with that question is that I'm just wondering, like, it doesn't seem like a lot of people are taking young talent like a Brees Hall into account. And I'm wondering why that might be the case, if that's even a factor at all in picking or not picking him.
Like it might be, but like it seems to not be as much of a factor with so many. It is a place we can have an edge. Like honestly, we can take it might be a place to attack and take the edge. Like I will be looking at Brees Hall every week. Honestly. Because it's clear he's taken the backfield from Cook, and he is an amazing talent.
And let's not forget, last year he had 2 games, I think, where he just completely shattered a slate.
Exactly. We know what he can do. He seems to be healthy coming off. They've given him the workload now. He's putting up very solid games that are worthy of his price tag, and he's not getting the ownership for it. So as long as that continues, I'm going to be willing to play him. So like I think we got and like the ownership across the board, like our field stack ended up becoming chalkier, but we didn't play the Addison chalk or Osborne chalk. We played Hawkinson.
Yeah.
So like I really like the way this line, and even us. Look at us. Whatever defense fits.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, man.
Texans,
right.
baby.
That Texans defense was a good play, no
It
matter
is
what.
a very solid one. If we had $100 left to get to the Vikings and gotten 24 points, it probably would have been a little better.
Well, we wouldn't have been on the Vikings. We would have went Texans over
Exactly, because of
Vikings,
this
no matter
stat.
what.
All right, so our second worst lineup, the last one that didn't cash, the Brock Purdy lineup.
That's unfortunate. That's a really, really unfortunate one.
I think it is
because
no, and it's
that's all. It,
wow, like that game, I was surprised about that game too, and I shouldn't be
Well-
because I know Cleveland is an amazing defense.
no. But here's the thing: they had a chance to win it without
They missed
three of
that
their most
field
important offensive players.
Yeah, and then they
They were without three of their most important offensive players. This was the worst game of Brock Purdy's career by far, but he did what they needed to do to win. You wish it was better. He put them in position to win a sloppy game.
He also put them in position to lose the 9-2.
He did.
Because you got to be, I mean, I know they were missing a lot of players. That Debo got hurt during the game, but they were also playing an XFL PJ Walker. Like,
who got Cooper
Listen.
4 for 100.
Yeah.
Listen, we both know middle of the year when that weird backup quarterback comes in, anything can happen.
Yep.
Mhm.
I played it.
It's strange. It's strange.
Oh, look at us playing Kyle Pitts
Yeah, twice.
Logan's core, I think.
and
Yeah, that's
Godwin and Thielen, part of my core. Which, to be honest, like I was talked onto him by Jay. Like
I was talking on to Godwin.
not fully on Godwin, because I saw the stats on Godwin and I was playing Baker stacks, whereas he was playing Goff stacks.
I was talked on to Godwin for sure.
But then I thought like hoping that Carolina keeps up and gets points against Miami and playing two of them.
Mm-hmm.
Bold, but it paid off. It worked.
After Saturday's show, I said to myself, after everything we said Godwin-wise, I was like, how do I not have any Godwin in my lineups?
And
I
like
had
6 for 77 and because of Baker's bad throw, basically dropped what would have been like another 20-yard touchdown. So like he probably would have had been 7 for 100 and a touchdown and bonus.
If his price doesn't change, is that the play you're looking at again or no?
It sort of depends on the slate and who they're
On
playing,
Godwin?
but like he still has touchdown regression. He got red zone targets again, just didn't.
I do know.
He is
Godwin
probably
great.
due for a monster game, and I will be looking for that game. Yes.
Evan, you got anything to say? I saw you went off mute there.
Oh, yeah, no. I didn't really have anything else to add to this. I'm trying to even remember what I contributed for this lineup. I think it was Thielen and Cooper.
Well, this is the thing where we did with the cores of each of us, and then what we did is then we built around it.
Yeah, no, I know that. I just couldn't remember what players I suggested for this particular lineup.
I know it was Kyle Pitts, and then
I
the
did-
two cheap running back for me was the core.
Was this the one I had to get up and come back, and you had like already built it?
No. Because this is the one where I had the two cheap running backs, and I put Kyle Pitts in there, and I let you guys build it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know I put McCaffrey in it.
I put Godwin in it.
And then you and Donnie both agreed on Purdy, and I think Evan was on board as long as we could get Christian McCaffrey on.
I was amazed that CMC only had 8.2 ownership
He got hurt.
percentage. But
Yeah.
obviously,
the
Oh,
price.
because he was the most expensive guy on the slate. Like he's starting to get to that price where people don't want to play him,
It's
People are
hard to get
scared.
him in.
especially
people are
in
definitely
a
scared.
really crappy game environment. But like, all right. So,
But I'm not scared to play who I think the best running back in the league is. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our final lineup, the one that cashed and for 20 cents in the dime. Oh,
Garbage time.
right.
Like Minshew really did have a Jameis Winston game. He truly did.
This one was my core.
Yeah.
It was.
It-
I think it wins a lot more if Fields doesn't get hurt. I think both our Fields lineup and this lineup do very well if Fields doesn't get hurt.
Another one that's like sunk by Mixon, but was still be able to be carried because we have Mostert, we have St. Brown.
Yeah, we had
Downs, another cheap guy who had another like 4K almost receiver who gets you like 13 to 14. Ingram was a solid tight end.
I'm curious to see what you guys think, though. And this is not me victory lapping. Like, that's why I'm asking you guys. Especially it doesn't come off biased. I know injury, like coming off an injury, the guy's going to be lower owned. I was flabbergasted at the praise of St. Brown. I was totally.
Me too. Listen. Me and you are so biased on St. Brown. We can't.
I know I'm biased, but like my point is, he wasn't like Cooper Kupp was very expensive when he came back off injury. I want to say St. Brown was under 8K. So
yeah, he was 70. He was 77.
Yeah.
And look at how few people even put him in their lineups. 4.7% for Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yeah, I know.
Me?
That's I
That's
agree. Like absolutely egregious for.
He's always being played by me every week. I think it's ridiculous.
He is that good. Like so. Like I will continue to play Amon-Ra, who's clearly a top 5 receiver in this league. If he's
until he's 85.
Yeah. Well, as long as he's going to be low owned. Now, if like we have a week where he's the Chase, he's the Tyreek, he's the guy who's pulling 20% at wide receiver, then maybe I don't. And he's 8K now. It's like okay, we'll see.
My thing is with
I still
Amon-Ra. Yeah. The only reason I think the low ownership thing is people don't see him as the explosive receiver who can burn the guys over the top, but he just gets there other ways.
Is that why? Because that was actually going to be my question, Donnie, is that now that we know what we know about Amon-Ra St. Brown, why the fuck don't people play him? Is it because they see him that way?
That's the only thing I can think of. He doesn't make the electric, Tyreek Hill's going to burn you play. Jamar Chase just runs right by you.
Yeah, he's
last year it was the touchdowns. People said he gets the volume, he doesn't get the touchdowns.
But he gets there every time.
But what's wrong with volume?
There's nothing wrong with volume. He's
with
legit Adam Thielen, only younger and
way better.
It's the same argument we get with Kamara sometimes. It's like, well, people will argue, well, Kamara's not a real running back, and if it wasn't for the 12, targets, he would never get there as a running back. Well,
yeah, but he's gonna get 12 targets.
I hate to tell you, he gets 12 targets. Like you could say, oh yeah, well, if my running back got 12 targets, he would do as good as Kamara too. Well, guess what? He doesn't play him.
If I had 150 lineups, I win too.
Yeah, exactly.
So, as a DFS newbie and almost a know-nothing about this format, is that common in this format where you have all kinds of people who just want to chase that exciting boomer bust play like a Tyreek Hill rather than go with a safe floor like an Amon-Ra?
I don't think it's common when you get to certain levels.
What do you mean, Donnie?
That's a good point.
The top end players, I don't think are going to think like that. But beginners, I think beginners are just.
If you're not using a projection set and you're like going on gut, then like you're probably going to try to put Tyreek in before Amon-Ra if you're like more of a Tyreek fan, or maybe like this week specifically, maybe you're not even a Tyreek fan. Maybe you're casual, but even the casual is going to watch ESPN and know that Miami should destroy Carolina.
Yep. So are we thinking that 4.7% are probably mostly the professional gamblers as opposed to everybody else who's probably going to look at an Amon-Ra and be like, I'll take Tyreek.
Yes, it was me. Correct. Yes.
Yeah. Well,
There you go.
Yeah,
I
me
think-
too. Me too.
to Donnie's larger point, though, Evan, I think what he's saying is when the buy-ins for the contest get larger, when you're playing in the 100-man, putting $100 on the line, you're playing with the smarter people, with the more risk tolerant people. Those are the people that tend to be smarter. When you're just playing the guy that
The
has a
dime.
$1
Yeah,
line,
when we're playing the dime that's got 118,000 people.
Mhm.
So like even that, like think about that. So 118,000 lineups, 4%, just under 5%. That's like 5,000. That's like 6,000 lineups.
Sure.
Yeah.
So like that's still a lot of lineups. Like Logan says, you go to that $100, $200 single entry. He's
Right.
probably closer to like 15% owned in that. Maybe
Okay.
20.
So like
But then you're also going to see a guy like Mostert in that at like 80%
Mhm.
as opposed to 47.
So we're thinking this is mostly just in a larger pool where people get intimidated by the over 100,000 entries that are in it. People are just trying too hard to galaxy brain it to get that advantage.
Yeah. Or they're like there's a lot of tailing. Like you watch the guy on Fantasy Focus in the morning, Sunday morning. They build 2 lineups, one cash, one GPP. And guess what? Mostert's in probably both of them. Like a couple of these guys would have, like DJ Moore might have been in one like that. So all of a sudden, that's what a lot of people are going to end up playing on Sunday morning who are just like building a random lineup. Now, then again, because even the people who 150 max some of these tournaments,
Mhm.
that's still, I think, in a tournament like this, I think even the 150 maxers in it probably only accounted for 20,000 of the 120,000 lineups.
Mhm.
So even the high-end players only account for 20% of the lineups. So even of them, a quarter of them played Amon-Ra, basically. And maybe a few others who are like maybe a Lions homer played a fucking golf double and had Amon-Ra in it. And also played
Here's the
David
thing.
Montgomery.
I did.
I'm not
Yes,
gonna
I know.
lie. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie and act like I don't consistently have my eye on Amon-Ra just because how I felt about him coming out of the draft. It's completely biased my feeling about Amon-Ra.
It's
and
not
he's
just
proving
yeah.
right.
I was about to say it's not just the industry that comes out with these content and
But-
takes. Every layman playing and building their lineup has their own take, and they're going to put in their own guy. And
Donnie,
maybe it's just that a lot of people, for some reason, didn't like Amon-Ra this week or didn't think about him or whatever.
Well, I think part of it too is people don't realize the Lions are 5-1 and really good.
I know they're 5-1.
well, also, I know this for a fact. People will say
The Lions are 5-1. Really good.
the Lions don't play good outside, right? That's a narrative. So anytime the Lions go outside, people are going to say, I don't want to play Jared Goff outside.
Yeah, and see, that's where I love our Discord because we had the crazy stat going around all weekend.
Yeah.
We were just talking about that on Saturday, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
I think we're.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I'm never a believer in. I don't give a shit about weather. I don't give a shit if it's a dome or indoors. Just they're gonna find a way to get the ball in the hands of the skill players. So
Talent.
Well,
And
I
I
think
bang
there
on
are
that.
some. I think there are some situations where it's legit. Like we had how many years of Brady going to Miami and just sucking it up. Like there is some cases where
Well, if it's like a
Hell,
Buffalo
Brady played
snowstorm
in
game.
Tampa for 3 years. It can't be that horrible of a place.
Yeah.
I know, but I can see why you got to that. Though it pre-Tampa.
But Donnie, to your point earlier, that's why a bias can hurt you, but it also can help you. The reason you can say, "Oh, I'm biased to St. Brown." Yeah, you are. Guess why you biased to St. Brown? Because you liked his production. Because you put on his tape, you did draft evaluation, and you're like, "Hey, I identified a quality about this player that I like before anyone else knew about it." And yes, that created a bias. But what it did is it created a low-owned guy, especially when you were one of the first ones to know about him and no one else did. And when you win money in that guy, guess what? You're gonna go back to him, and that's okay too. Like it's okay to admit your biases. Like I've always had this rule: if I ever win a lot of money on a lineup, I will buy the lowest owned player's jersey. Just as like a pay it forward kind of story. Like whether that's spiritual, whether that actually matters, whether that's just like a good story to tell your buddies, like whatever it is, it plays into just this kind of fabric or culture of what you find enjoyable.
So based on everything we've talked about, it sounds to me that there's a lot of multiple factors that went into Amon-Ra St. Brown only making it to 4.7% of people's lineups
Right.
this contest.
Yes. I mean, everyone has a different process. Even though, like, we could say, we're even the same groups. Like, Gov, me, and Logan have now spent over a year together building lineups. Well, we all still have very different processes when it comes down to the nitty-gritty.
Agreed.
But I think that's what makes our Saturday show so well. Like I told you, I wouldn't have had any Adam Thielen, but because I knew, it's a Gov play, like that's totally a Gov play. And because I know that, like I can say, hey, I can force my kind of like stars and scrub philosophy here because I know Gov's going to be contrarian here. And so what we end up doing is kind of melding into each other's philosophies, and I think that adds to it. Like, we're burying the lead a little bit, Donnie. I hope you don't mind. I got to share with the people you won your first contest, man. You had your first big success.
2, actually.
Tell the people, man, if you will. I mean, you can tell them whatever you want, but I'm proud of you. Donnie had his first, or I guess 2 lineups, but you had your first big week and you had your first big DFS moment. And I will say vicariously, like that's how I built my bankroll. So like hearing that story from you, Donnie, was magical for me. It really was.
A couple weeks ago, I thought about, just completely not trashing, but reevaluating the whole process of how I was building things. Look back on it, realized things just didn't fall my way. It wasn't exactly a process error. Kept at it. Finally worked.
Well, that's too simple. What do you mean by like you almost reverted back and just like restarted the process? Like, what did you feel like you were doing wrong, and then what did you not fit? Like, walk the people through it if you want to.
I'm trying to think of it in the right words.
Yeah,
because there was just a lot of random low price guys who I was seeing getting some volume. I would keep on targeting, like a Nelson Redacted. I think that's the big part of what I changed in my process. If I changed anything.
Would you be able to share your screen to show us those lineups or no?
I don't. Well, Logan should be able to look it up.
I might have your lineup. Did you send them to me? I'll look at that.
Well, if you just look at the contest, it's 5-hour.
I tried that, Donnie. Believe it or not, I did do some behind the scenes editing. I couldn't find it for whatever reason. I even have your username. Maybe if I go through the share screen, I'll be able to find it. Let me switch over to.
I can't share the screen, but.
Oh yeah, let's go share and go.
I was about to say, let's not worry about it right now.
But
just continue with your process.
Yeah. The 5-hour energy one, the one that was the big one, that was the 3. That was a Mostert, Goff, London, Chase. Is it Mac Wilson, the Cardinals receiver?
Michael Wilson.
Mike Wilson?
Yeah. Foreman, Laporta, Puka, and the Bucks defense. So it wasn't exactly perfect. I don't even think it was my best lineup. It ended up being, but I didn't feel the best going into it when I built it.
Fair.
There it is, Donnie.
There
I found it in the one contest.
Okay. No, that's a different one. That's a different lineup.
I know that. I'm saying I found the opposite one, but this is one of your lineups.
Yes. And I love that lineup. Yeah. So yeah, let's go over that one first, I guess. As you can see, Amon-Ra, we talked enough about him tonight. Texans defense, I think we hit on enough tonight. The big one that was different was the Bryce Young one. Is Chris Godwin that low owned in a lot of contests also? There's no way, right?
No, he was. That's one
He
of the
was.
reasons why I liked him. He
That's
was pulling no ownership.
It's
That's
because
disgusting.
He is like 7K. So, but like again, with the stats he had, he's got great volume and is due for touchdowns.
Yeah, he's due for touchdown. See, I just went back to a Bryce Young play that hit last week for me at less than 1% ownership last week. I think it was literally in the contest 0.1% owned. So I just went back to it. Like the cheap quarterback there, a lot of upside.
Mm.
But look at that. The thing is the pass attempts. Like, he's consistently throwing so many passes. That's the same reason why I like Stroud so much. They're letting the rookie quarterback sling it this year. Now, it's not always correlated to scoring, but I like to see the quarterback throwing it that much.
Yep, and lucky for Bryce, he's got Adam Thielen, which is the perfect stack.
Yeah. So when you built this line, Donnie, did you build it going in thinking I want to Bryce Young Thielen? Was that your first move?
Yeah, Bryce Young was one of my first moves. And that therefore led to Thielen, which maybe this is the difference. Instead of going Mingo like I had been for the start of the season, I got Thielen. This time I forced myself to get to that extra spot.
So were you like Jason? Did you think Thielen would be upwards of 25? Maybe not even 25, but did you think he was going to be over 10% on?
I didn't care about his ownership. The production made sense,
Yeah, it makes sense. You basically took the ownership of Young and Thielen and said you won't match me anyway.
I knew Young wasn't going to have the ownership.
Right.
I didn't care.
Right. You're like, the combination will be so low owned in correlation, it won't matter. That's smart. See, that's a smart process kind of thing right there. And I wish we did that more. Like, not even like the royal we. Like, I wish people would consider that more.
Oh, Don, if you'd have put that lineup in the Thunderdome, you'd have taken me down to 50K. Man.
No, I should have done it.
Yep, next time you got 5K just laying around, just throw it in the Thunderdome.
Well,
no, I do love that, Gov. To go back to Jason really quickly, like when they mentioned that about the Millie contest, he immediately said, like, I don't play the Millie. Like, they told him how much he would have won, and without a shadow of a doubt, he didn't blink, didn't do anything. He just was like, I don't play the Millie. It wouldn't have mattered. Like, you could tell me I would have won it all, and it wouldn't have mattered because I don't play. And that's the right mindset to have. Donnie came in with a challenge to try to win money with free contests. You did that. You accomplished your goal this week. Congratulations.
No matter what, I accomplished my goal for this season.
Right.
Because I enjoyed it, and I made a good process play in a week.
But
I even like the Michael Wilson play, to be honest.
Yeah, I know. I really like that lineup. And I'm not just saying that as a Panthers fan.
Well, I even have a season-long bet that Bryce Young will throw more touchdowns than CJ Stroud, and I'm not totally convinced I'm dead on that bet. I'm telling you, I like what I'm seeing from Bryce. It might be a little too late to
Both
catch
of them
up.
look so good.
You are a 3v3 off of Jay's lineup, too. Like, he went Goff.
I told you I got real close.
Yeah. He went Goff, Pitts, and Samuel. And you went Young, Wilson, and Goddard.
Yeah.
It was. I got real close to his lineup.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't go to the Discord chat this week.
Great lineup, too. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Well done.
Applause. Golf clap.
I feel good about it. I've been waiting for that one for a while.
Very solid lineup. Like, really good. 180 this week was a great score, depending on the tournament you threw it in.
Some guy played this lineup. Do you guys remember this one? So this is us. in the same contest. So Donnie represented us in that one. But seriously, well, that it really does speak to that.
Oh God, don't look up my lineup that I put in there.
But it really does speak to it's like a hockey analogy. It's shots on goal. We just want to put good shots on goal. But you don't want to pick up a hockey stick and try to play croquet. It just won't work. So like it has to make sense, but if it does, it can be beautiful. And this week it was for you, Donnie. Congratulations. You know, the cool thing now is you can fail this week. You could totally zero out with your lineups and know that like there's money on the line, there's a whole different strategy, there's a whole different process, and that would be fun in itself. And like now is the start of a new journey, Donnie. You got money now, and so now you get to manage it, and so you can even go through that process. And like that's how it grows.
Sadly, I cannot go into it's not DFS, the other, like just go into over unders and stuff for playing.
Yeah, no, sportsbook. Yeah, unfortunately, in certain states, yeah.
Yeah, but you are going to be able to play NBA in like a week's time, you know, and that's the cool thing is like now you got money, you could play.
Right, if it was going to happen, this was the time.
25-cent contests and like, yeah.
Like maybe that's why I had to wait so long for it to finally work out because I need an NBA to come around.
It does remind me, Gov. Do you remember what my biggest bucket list? I told myself that when I got a job and when I felt really comfortable with DFS, I was going to hand build 150 lineups. I will do that at some point this year. That's a guarantee. But on the podcast to our listeners, I will build 150 by hand and do that at some level this year. It reminded me, Donnie, when you had your success. I'm like, Donnie broke through. I got to pay it forward and actually follow through with my lifelong goal here. And go, we'll shoot over to the Rainmakers and we'll close up shop. But
we need to do spreads.
Spreads.
Oh yeah, so let's review our spreads and run over to Rainmakers.
Does someone want to pull it up?
I did not do it. I should have done it, but I did not do it.
Ooh, hold on.
It's
let me see if I can get it up real quick.
Link should be right there in that in the chat.
Oh, I can pull up the link. I thought you meant the graphic. I totally forgot to do the graphic this week.
Well,
we're a professional show, we promise.
We are doing many things. Yes.
We're mature people.
We should be happy after what? 6-7 weeks, I finally put the spreadsheet together.
Hey, one thing we can guarantee is we are professionals in the sense that we still have full-time jobs. So maybe one day we'll be able to do this full-time, but not yet. This is the spread, though. I do have it up.
Yes.
I'm just trying to zoom in a little bit.
Yeah, whoever has it open should be able to zoom it. Yeah.
There we go.
All right. So we'll start off with the group pick. It was the Niners minus 9.5. They obviously didn't even win their game.
Man.
So the group spread is not looking pretty. If people want to win, just don't tail that. Fade that pick.
Yeah.
Hey, it's week to week, baby. Don't fade off because this will be the week we run off like 5 in a row. You guys lose all your money.
Yeah, we can mount a comeback as a group if we try harder, right?
Yeah, right?
Oh, I don't. If we all agreed that it was a good pick,
yeah,
it's not our fault.
No, of course not.
It's not our fault the team sucked.
Yep.
So,
Falcons. Chargers +1 and Falcons -1 for Logan.
Oh,
yeah, that's both losses. Logan has fallen behind at 3-9. But on the plus side, the top guy loses both.
Okay. To be fair, I understand my +3 on the Bucks. That should have been a much more competitive game.
It really should have been. Trey Palmer missed.
And
like,
how in the flying do the fucking I'm bleeping the wrong words. Fuck the Jets. What the fuck?
Listen, it was. I get it. There was a lot of injuries, and the Eagles haven't exactly played great against opponents this year, even
None
if they
of
were expected to.
None of them.
Donnie, how many wins do the Jets got to get that you can finally admit Zach Wilson's a decent quarterback?
I don't know if there is an amount, because what the hell did Zach Wilson do last week? Do you want to explain to me what Zach Wilson did besides get a win on the...
I know you're biased.
He did not lose that game.
Yeah,
I'll tell you what, he did not lose that game. And if your only argument for Zach Wilson isn't trash, is he's not the reason they lost this week, your argument isn't great.
Is he the worst quarterback in the league?
No.
If he goes a whole year where he's not the reason they lost their games, but
he can't do that.
I agree. I don't believe that will happen. I do not believe that will happen.
It can't happen this year because it's already not happened. He's been the reason they've lost this year.
And by the way, just to recap again, since that's what we're doing, I did own up to the Chargers' loss with Evan after. I still don't understand what happened in that game. I guess I'm just blind. Like, of all the games I could have lost this season, last season, 2 years ago, 3 years from now, that one still doesn't make sense to me.
To be fair, though, I was almost wrong, though, Logan, when I said that I think the Cowboys were going to win this one, because that was a close game, and I went into it not knowing who the hell was going to win that one.
Well, here's my thing about it. The only reason why I would have went Cowboys on that end is because I tell myself every time a playoff team, a team that should make a decent playoff run, I don't expect to lose back-to-back games.
Yeah. But I'll be honest, I didn't think the Chargers would just win. I thought the Chargers were like superiorly better. Like this season, their season-long projection, their game-to-game. I just thought they were a better team than I guess they are, and I'm almost embarrassingly wrong about the Chargers.
Well, let me ask you this: who do you think the best player on between that whole field? Who do you think the best player on both teams were?
Keenan Allen.
See, I think that's your mistake. It's Micah Parsons, man.
I don't know. I still think it's Keenan Allen.
But the point is, whether you agree or disagree, I think that overall talent, the Chargers probably are better. But
it always comes down to coaching.
Yeah, desperate. I know they're both desperate, but I think the Cowboys are more desperate. I think there's more of a sense of urgency in Dallas than there ever has been or will be.
But to bring this full circle, though, that's the beautiful thing about what we do on Saturdays, like our lineup builds. It's like Evan doesn't got to be the best DFS player. He doesn't got to have played this for 5 years, because the experience that me and Gov bring, can be the experience component of our team. And then Evan brings them almost to, hey, you guys have been doing this too long, old man. Get aside. I'll show you kind of this new age mindset. Or I'll show you a realistic mindset. And we do need that sometimes, because like you do get entrenched in this like DFS mindset sometimes. And so that's what Evan brings. And then Donnie just brings kind of a blend of both. And so like what it ends up being, though, is like what we do together is kind of the cool part. It's like, I don't know what we would do if we built lineups separately, but that's not important because that's not what we do. Like we could argue that.
I can tell you what I would do. I wouldn't build at all.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest.
But I mean, I've heard that for so many weeks, though. Like Justin Herbert, he's the future. He's better than Patrick Mahomes, or he's better than Tua. It's like, who knows? Who cares? Does it even matter? Because
the thing with Herbert, I know he's really good, but he's at the point where we need to see more from Justin Herbert.
Go give the people a good idea because I do think it's true. How many DFS players do you think are actually really good that just have never gotten publicity?
Oh God, there's probably like 20 or 30 at least.
Yeah, right. That's what I mean. It's like we could go through that.
They
with the
never do
NFL.
content. They don't work for any of the major sites.
Right.
They just have a screen name and play every week. And if you're not looking at the lobby and noticing their name in all of the high dollar contests, you don't even know that they're playing. Yeah.
Unfortunately, that could be Justin Herbert. It really could be. Like we could all say, like, "Hey, I think he's really good. I think he could have been a Super Bowl guy, but it just never worked." You know, it's very much true.
Back to on track. Gov is 7-5 on the season after being 7-3 last week because he had to go against my Lions pick.
Yeah.
I had to sneak that one in there.
Sometimes you just have to eat crow.
Yep.
I'm feeding it to him.
How does it taste, by the way, Gov? Have you tasted it yet? Tell the people, how does it taste?
He's digesting it right now.
He's got a mouthful, yes.
Yeah.
Like making a kid eat broccoli.
You can't wait till next week.
Oh, see, like you guys don't even realize this is my week off. I'm getting into NBA. I'm going to be able to do some extra research. I feel good about this week already.
Please,
he's going to put a lot into the spread.
Please close.
I don't know if I will. Honestly, I might just make 2 shitty picks again. Who knows?
Please close up the show. Actually, go if you would.
Well, we still got 2 more people.
Do we? Okay.
I was about to say you only discussed us 2, so like let's.
Yeah. All right, my picks: Lions -3, Texans +1.5. That was 2 right because Derek Carr threw an interception to end last week's game, and it really should have been a loss on that Texans one. So I am up to 6-6, 1 behind Gov after a putrid start for me. Evan continues his trend of going 1-1 with the Rams -7, Bears +3. Good job, Evan.
Just
6-6.
once, I'd like to go 2-0 for a week, but who knows if it will ever happen this season.
I think it did happen once this season because I think you started out 1-3.
Did I? Scroll
I'm
up
pretty
a bit.
sure.
Trying to think which ones did I fuck up. If I
have it in a separate notes tab on my end. I can tell you.
Yeah, because I was gonna say I thought I went 1-1 like every week.
Looks like you went 1-1 like most weeks at least.
He did. He started off. Yeah. He started off 1-3.
Do you think it's over, Evan?
Over for what?
Do you think like Gov's gonna run away with it, or do you think we're gonna be able to catch him and
barely a game ahead of you guys?
No,
like,
dude,
I know.
Yeah.
It's only week 6. We've got so much of the season left. Who the fuck knows?
I was wrong. You have been 1-1 every week. That is so impressive. That's.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't remember starting 1-3.
Like we straight up median score, dude. Yeah.
I do not think this will be close. I think one of us will get really hot here down the stretch. And
hey, I think that's gonna be me. I think I saved my hot streak for the end this year.
Honestly, I think it could be either one of us at this point, but I do think one of us will go on a huge streak, and it won't.
That's all it takes.
And the one time I make my homer pick of the Bears, they fucking embarrass me. They fucking embarrass me. I hate my
Welcome to being a Bears fan.
You wouldn't know, Donnie. You've been a Patriots fan spoiled all those years.
Spoiled little man.
Yeah, he didn't even see the Drew Bledsoe year. So what is he?
You merely adopted the dark. I've lived in it for my entire life.
Okay. This is where we end the show, I think.
Probably.
Once we get to references.
Yeah,
I was about to say, we do have one more thing left.
I wasn't sure if we were going to get to the Rainmakers.
So, as with the week, we are in the single entry. We did not cash another week in a row. We've actually been pretty close the last 2 weeks. We've just been unlucky with like one player. And so, unfortunately, our big decision this week is big dog on bye.
We were ready for it, kinda. We knew it was coming.
We knew it was coming. So the rest of the lineup filled out. Honestly, like if our stack Pickens does well in a game that could force them to throw against the Rams, Sutton is in a good spot at home against Green Bay, and Tony's in the best spot of the week in the game against the Chargers. So the lineup isn't horrible.
And Tony started playing a lot better. You know what really upsets me? And like this is just variance. This is not our fault. But we got Trevor Lawrence, who I think is a really good pickup, like for the season for the upside. And it's just like ever since we picked him up, he's just been in a bunch of showdown one-off games, and we haven't been able to use him on the main slate.
Well, yeah, 2 back-to-back London games.
So I think
and now he's on Thursday night. Well, and he might not even play this Thursday night.
Right, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like we picked up,
but it is a good backup stack to have when we don't. Like the reason we picked it up is like it does give us some versatility if we're able to play a showdown game or use it in that.
Right.
But it also gives us a second stack that will most certainly be on the Sunday slate, if not in London.
I just want to remind people we do have a Trevor Lawrence. I do think that I do think we built a really good core group of players here. Even Mingo, I think, could eventually show through. Eventually, like we could score late, especially with rainmakers. I feel like.
Yeah. So I've built all my lineups for the week. So this is what I have left over for running back for you to choose. We know Monty's probably not playing, and we know Chubb's on IR. Gibbs is interesting if he plays because it'll just be him and Craig Reynolds. Gibson in his like 70-30 split in Washington or whatever he's getting. Murray getting like a 60-40 split with James Cook in Buffalo.
I think it's way less than that now for Murray.
Yeah. McKinnon, who is also like Pacheco is now like doing everything. Harris is going down, and I heard Uncle Lenny is
no, he got his review. He's done. No, he's not going.
It didn't go through? No?
No.
Okay.
The appointment with the Bills got canceled today, so who knows where Lenny will end up.
Nowhere. Let's be honest.
Probably back on his couch.
I will say, if we thought the Commanders game would be a passing script, then we would consider Gibson. But he's such a they have to be losing proposition for him to be viable. I think the obvious one is Gibbs. Gibbs is likely to come back this week. Dan already admitted that like he wants to ramp him up. He wants to make sure he's ready because he said that he wanted to make sure he was ready before they play. But he has full confidence he will play this week.
So who else do we have? We have
like basically our only choices are Gibbs, Gibson, Murray, and McKinnon.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
The other running backs below that, Zamir White and Keyshawn Vaughn don't play. The running backs above it are injured.
Let's go Gibbs, man.
I think it's Gibbs.
I think we have to until further notice.
If for some reason Gibbs is out, I'll let you guys know Sunday morning, and you can either switch to Gibson or McKinnon.
I think it's
or Murray if you want.
No thanks.
Yeah, I think it would be Gibson for me if Gibbs.
I would agree.
Against the Giants, I would probably agree that too. Yeah.
Yeah, because he's at least gonna catch some good PPR volume.
Yeah, I'm surprised they don't even use him as a wide receiver already.
I still don't get that. He played wide receiver in college. Why wouldn't you play him there?
Right. Yeah, I don't, especially with a team that needs it. With that being said, though, speaking of need it, I need to get some rest. We need to get back to work. We'll see you guys Saturday, though, because then that's when we go back to work and we build some lineups. And I'm really excited about that. I think we have some good process. We're starting to get some real chemistry together. I think we'll put together a pretty good lineup here soon, I think. Because, like, we got the building blocks, but I think one of these weeks we're going to hit pretty big. It'll be a fun show. But thanks for joining me, guys. Good night.
Keep the faith. Go Bears.
Have a good night, everyone.
Peace out.
I made sure